Okay, guys, let's talk about the last section, 1.4, problem solving in chemistry. And this is something that you will use for the rest of the year. So I would like you to try and work with me on this and do it the way that I want. And you will see in the long run, it'll be to your benefit. The simple questions we have this chapter are easy to do other ways, but we're going to get into this habit of using our units so that we can make everything work easily when it gets more complicated. So, to get started, what is the general approach to problem solving? So I have a unique approach, and I think most chemists use something similar. And we have to always determine or get a plan, figure out where we're going to start, where we want to end, and then we just use that to solve our problem. Pretty straightforward. So, in doing numeric problems, what are we going to do? Because there are two types of problems we have in chemistry. Some are numeric and some are qualitative and analyzing something not based on numbers. So most word problems require math. No big surprise. This is probably the biggest applied math class you'll ever have. And the technique that we use for this is called dimensional analysis. We use the dimensions or the units to make sure they cancel so we get to the answer we want. And we can apply this to a lot of different things. So first we have to analyze what we have. We have to figure out what we're given and what we want to find. And then we get a plan to go from what we're given to what we want to find. Then we calculate, and finally we look at it again to make sure that that answer makes sense. So when we analyze, we're going to determine what we are given and what we need to find out. And if we know what that number is, we may need a number of conversion factors to get us from what we're given to what we want to find. And then we'll make a plan for using those, and then we'll actually get out the calculator. And so the units are going to be very important when you're doing these kinds of problems. So I want to make sure that you write down not just a number, but a unit as well. So after you calculate an answer, you have to look at it and say, does that answer make sense? I asked some students at Christian Brothers to convert the speed, I think it was Michael Phelps or Mark Spitz, one of the great swimmers, from meters per second into miles per hour. And someone got that they swam at 45 miles per hour. And I didn't think that answer was very reasonable, because if we could swim at 45 miles an hour, I don't think very many of us would drive a car. So we have to make sure it's reasonable. Does it make sense? And did I copy the numbers down correctly? So you want to check your work, in other words. So estimate the walking time. If you're visiting in Indianapolis and you want to walk from the state capitol to somewhere else, how many minutes would it take you if you could walk 1 mile in 20 minutes? Assume 10 blocks is 1 mile. So now you can count the number of blocks and figure out about how long you think it would take. It certainly wouldn't take you 24 hours, but it might take you more than an hour or less than an hour, or it could take you 5 hours, and we'll have to figure that out. So the distance to be traveled is 8 blocks. The walking speed is 1 mile per 20 minutes, and we can walk, and there are 10 blocks in a mile. So what time will the trip take? So we're going to start with how far we're going to travel. So we're going to travel 8 blocks. The first conversion factor we'll use is that there are 10 blocks in 1 mile. And I would not do this in individual steps. I would do this all in one step, but we're going to go ahead with it the way they've written it here. And then after we have that we're going to go 8/10 of a mile, we know that 1 mile is 20 minutes. So we have the miles canceling out. So 0.8 times 20 gives us 16 minutes. And make sure your units cancel or you've done something wrong. And now, is that answer sound reasonable? 16 minutes to walk 8 blocks. And that sounds reasonable to me. the unit is correct and the relationship are correct, and so you have done it correctly. I want you to pause the video here and try and use this method to work out this problem. When I'm checking your notes, I'm going to want you to show me where you did this calculation so that I can see that you've worked it out correctly. So please pause now. Okay, so going on, Matthew has collected quarters in a jar. He has 176 quarters. What is the value of his quarters? So if he has 176 quarters, and there are 4 quarters in a dollar, then it would be 176 divided by 4, and that would give us $44. So we're down at the end of this effective problem solving, and you need to know the steps, and so that's the end of this section. I did not talk about qualitative problem solving. I think you can read that in the book, and you don't need my help for it. So this concludes all the videos for Chapter 1. You should be prepared soon to have your test, and I will see you in class. Thanks for listening.